Hi, second grade. Welcome back to your second literacy lesson for today. So let's go over the two strokes that we've learned that we use to write our letters already. What's this one? Good, this is our clock stroke. And the most important thing about this is, where does it start? Good, it starts over a space just below the dotted line. Touch 2 on the clock. All right, and this is our short line stroke. Where does that start? Good, it starts at the dotted line. All right, we always want to start from the top and go down when we're making our letters if we have a line stroke, just because it's going to be more even and more beautiful. So we're going to learn a new kind of stroke today, and it is called a dash stroke. All right, and so a dash stroke can start at different points on the line, but you just draw a straight line in the direction we read and write. Okay, and that's not a very straight line. So let me just, usually I would cross it out, but there's not room on the chart for me to cross it out, so I will have to erase. So we just start at we'll start at various points, but we just make a straight line in the direction that we read and write. All right, so this is our dash stroke. If you want to, you can practice making a couple dash strokes, and we make them about the size of a clock stroke. All right, so they're going to be, we don't want it to be really long or really short. It's going to be about as wide as our clock stroke is at its widest point. Okay, so you can practice a couple of those if you'd like to. All right, so our first clock stroke letter, we're going to learn, or sorry, not clock stroke, our first dash stroke letter we're going to learn is this one. And this says E. Say that with me, class. E. Good job. Now by yourself. Excellent. E. All right, pencil down. So since this is a dash stroke letter, we have to know where to start it, because dash strokes don't necessarily give us a starting spot. So this one, we're going to start halfway between the dotted line and the baseline. Right, so here's our dotted line, here's our baseline. We're going to start it right in the middle there. We're going to make a dash stroke. So it's going to go in the direction we read and write, and it's going to be about as big as a clock stroke. Then we're going to curve up, touch 2 on the clock, touch the dotted line. As it touch 10, we want to touch our starting spot again, curve down, touch 8, touch the baseline, touch 4, and lift. This is our E. All right, that one's a little bit different than a lot of the other ones we've done, so why don't you watch one more time and I'll talk through it. So I'm going to start close to my last letter, halfway between the dotted line and the baseline. I'm going to make a dash stroke. So that goes in the direction we read and write. I'm going to curve up, touch 2, touch the dotted line, touch 10, touch my starting spot, touch 8, touch the baseline, touch 4, and lift, E. All right, I'll talk you through that now while you write your first one. So sitting up nice and straight, holding your pencil correctly with your starting spot. All right, start close to your last letter and halfway between the dotted line and the baseline. Do a dash stroke that goes in the direction we read and write. Curve up, touch 2, touch the dotted line, touch 10, touch your starting spot, touch 8, curve down, touch the baseline, touch 4, and lift. Great job. You can practice that a couple more times. You're always free to practice the letters more times if you're having some trouble with them, but we always want to make sure you write each one at least 3 times. And of course, anytime you're practicing writing it, you should be saying it while you write it. Right, so all right, go ahead and get ready to write. Do another E and say it while you write it. All right, and let's do one more. Say it while you write it. One more, E. All right, nice job. Our next dash stroke or our next dash letter is this one. This says Z. Class, say that with me. Z. Good. Now by yourself. Excellent. Z. All right. This is a dash stroke. And so we have to know where we're going to start it. This one will start close to our last letter, and we're going to start it at the dotted line. All right, so pencils down, just watching first. We make a dash stroke. Remember, it should be about the length of a clock stroke in the direction we read and write. Now we're going to pull a backward slant down to the baseline, and we should be just below where we started. And then we're going to make another dash stroke in the direction we read and write and lift. This is our Z. All right. So starting close to the letter, starting close to your last letter, at the dotted line, make a dash stroke in the direction you read and write. Then pull a backward slant down to the baseline, and you should be right under your starting spot. And then make another dash stroke in the direction you read and write, and lift. All right, I want you to do that again. Say it while you write it. Make sure you're starting it in the correct spot, and say the sound while you write it. So you should be saying Z as you're writing it. Great, one more time. All right, great job. So these are our only two dash stroke letters. All right, so we've finished up with all of our dash stroke letters. Great job. Now let's practice writing a couple more nonsense words. All right, our first nonsense word that I want us to write is going to be math. Class, what's our word? Good, math. What sounds do we hear in the word math? Good job taking that apart if you said ah. All right, one more time. What sounds are we going to write? Ah. All right, say the sounds while you write them. All right, class, now I want you to tell me the sounds so I can write our nonsense word. All right, first though, I've got to leave a space since I'm writing a word. Remember, we always leave a space before and after a word. What's my first sound? Good, remember that starts at the dotted line. We go down, up to the dotted line, and up to the dotted line again. What's next? Good, ah, that's a clock stroke letter. So we start over a space just below the dotted line, touch 2 on the clock. And what's next? Good. And that one, remember, is funny. We start over a space, but just below the top baseline, touch 2 on the clock. All right, nice job. If your word doesn't look like mine, then you can pause the video, cross your word out. If I needed to do it, remember, I would just do it like this because I want to be able to see what you've written and see what was tripping you up if something was. All right, so if you need to correct it, then go ahead and do that, but if not, great. All right, let's do one more nonsense word. Let's do, ooh, this is funny. Let's do zeg. All right, zeg. What sounds do we hear in the word zeg? Good. Z, e, g. All right, one more time. What are we going to write? Z, e, g. All right, so go ahead and write those sounds. Say them while you write them. All right, class, what do I need to write to spell zeg? All right, first I'll leave a clock space. Right, Z is the first one, and that's going to start on the dotted line, but with the dash stroke. Z. What's next? Good, E. And what's next? G, right? And remember, that's a clock stroke letter as well. So we're going to start over space just below the dotted line, touch 2 on the clock. All right, so hopefully your zeg looks like mine. If not, go ahead and fix it. And now let's read the word that we wrote. All right, and I forgot to have us read our last word. Let me see, I'll write it down here so you can see it because I crossed it out just to show you how we're going to cross things out. And let's read this other nonsense word that we wrote. Good. Math. All right. Excellent work today, boys and girls. We've got just a couple more lessons and then we'll be almost finished with our first 26 phonograms. So keep up the great work.